Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us. I haven't missed this for the last 2 months. For post-match reaction already for Tottenham Hotspur back underway for the 2022-2023 season. First pre-season match out of the way and starting with a win. And I'm delighted to be welcoming back the stalwarts of Last Word on Spurs. Some haven't been on for a while. I'd like to have them back alongside us as well. And if you're listening to the show for the first time, you know you can find us. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on Twitter at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And thank you so much, as always, for joining us live on YouTube as we review Spurs' first pre-season game of the friendly. Don't worry, it's not a 2-hour show coming along. I can see Jason already concerned on the bottom right of my screen. Let's bring him in. Jace, love to have you back on Last Word on Spurs. What a background you got there.
I thought we were doing Gardener's World.
If it isn't the Underwater Diamond Championships.
I better go and get the other backdrop.
If it's not the Underwater Diamond Championships, delighted to have Jason McGovern. How are you, Jason? You okay?
Yeah, not too bad. Cricket's good. The golf's on tomorrow. Gardener's World's on. And a decent game of football to watch this afternoon.
Absolutely. And listen, Spurs back in our lives and back with a win. That's what we all love to see. Joining Jason tonight, back on the show. Delighted to have him alongside us. We've got John from Lilywhite Rose. John, how are you, mate? Lovely to be back on Last Word on Spurs.
Yeah, pleasure to be back on, Rick. It's been a little while. I've had a real kind of Spurs 24 hours. I said I was at Enfield last night watching the under-21s. I get into the ground, I see a few lads running up and down. I think, who's that? It's only bloody Danny Rose, back in the Spurs kit. Couldn't believe it. See him get done by electricians down the wing. It's like the old days. No, good to see Danny back. And yeah, really enjoyed watching the game today as well. So yeah, really fully back into the Spurs mentality. Loving it.
I can't get over this. Jason's trying to get rid of him for 6 years and he turns up again, Jason's like, what do you make of that very quickly? Danny Rose, can't get rid of him.
I couldn't believe it when I saw him. I thought, what's going on here? What is going on here?
He's still around, down in our old manor.
And yet he still looks slimmer than Ndombele. That's the amazing thing.
We will come on to, obviously, the absentees of this pre-season tour. But before we do, listen, co-host, runner of the crazy train, marathon man, the wonderful Lee McQueen's in the house. Lee, how are you, mate? Love you back on Last Word on Spurs for another pre-season. Here we go again.
I'm loving it. We've got the old crew back together as well, isn't it? It's lovely to be on it. And I'm going retro shirts. So unlike the others, Jason's been gallivanting around and John's been all over the place. Tottenham 24 last 24 hours. I've been looking through my old stuff. And weirdly enough, it was inspired actually by a tweet that Peter Rainey put out with his football shirt collection earlier in the week. So I thought, I think I've got an old school shirt. So I found this, which I'm affectionately calling the Bunjacevic, because I think he was the sort of geezer that used to wear the Bunjacevic. So I don't know, first player that you lot think of, put it in the comments. When you see this shirt, first player that you think of. Unfortunately for me, mine was Bunjacevic. So who are you going
Lee,
for, John? Who you think
Lee, guess who I've got on the back of that shirt? I've got the same shirt. I've got the one and only Stefan Delmat. 6 appearances on loan. I watched him destroy Birmingham City, begged my dad to take me down the club shop, 85 quid, Delmat 11, and then he was sent back.
He went back, didn't he?
He'd gone back. Yeah, cancelled the loin. But
What about you? Who do you think of when you see this shirt? There's a few great players that wore the shirt, actually. Raziak, call crackers.
I was going to say it's probably Robbie Keane that I think of most.
Yeah, it's coming in the comments. Although Stephen says Lee's giving me nightmares of Raziak with that shirt. So, Poyet rings a bell. Yeah,
I think there is Toda and Asimovic and people like that as well.
There's a few dodgies. There's a few dodgy ones.
That shirt had that great stretch material to it. And the one we're always forgetting about is Mabuzela. Remember him away at Leicester?
Yeah,
he did the old stretch. It was all the way out here. I didn't see anything like it. Yeah, I never knew material could go that far.
It's a great stretch.
Legend.
Gets around my guns, mate. Gets around my guns.
Oh, dear. I must say, we've also got loads of listener questions that you guys very kindly sent us in after the game, so we're going to cover those off. But Joe, before we do start the show, just a reminder that we are delighted to be sponsored by the Beavertown Corner Pin. That is the Beavertown Bang opposite your south stand. We have hopefully got some content coming your way before the start of the season. We're trying to tee up, I think, as you guys, we've been mentioning it, potentially a live show coming your way at some point early during the season. And no doubt, again, we'll be trying to make that happen. They've got an exclusive at the moment for you lovely bunch. So if you head over to beavertown.co.uk and use the code TOP4, that is all one word. You can scream it down Arsenal fans' throat. You can bag yourself 15% off all beer on their website for a limited time. Terms and conditions do apply. Go and check out. We do love a bit of Beavertown. I know Lee loves the neck oils. Even the laser crusher's been given a show in Lee in the last few months, right?
They have, and they've just brought out a few lovely new hazy pale ale. It's come out like a nice hazy version. They'll come out with some new ones, and hopefully we'll get to try a few of them in the summer.
Absolutely. Right, guys, let's get straight into it. Spurs' first win of the pre-season. First one up, first one down, Jay, 6-3. Probably one of the most entertaining friendlies you're ever likely to see. 9-goal thriller. Maybe I'm really building this up. What did you make of that performance, Jace, against the team K-League?
And everything, didn't it? It was hugely entertaining to watch. We saw some fantastic goals. Eric Dier's goal was an absolute beauty. I thought they got. I mean, their header right in the stroke of half time was a terrific header. They scored good goals. There were some real moments of comedy play from both teams. Lots of goals. Good to see Sonny get the reception. I mean, the noise levels when the ball was anywhere near Sonny just, goes up, and it backs up what I've said about the popularity of him out there. But good to see Kane. Good to see Kane rifle one in from 25 yards. Great to see him score with a free kick, which means he'll be taking them for the next 9 years now. But no, it was all good. Disappointed with conceding 3, but overall it was, it was a friendly. It was more like a festival game, and I think the crowd had a fantastic bit of entertainment.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We're going to get straight into it, just conscious it is only pre-season. We won't do a full 2-hour review on this as much as Jason really wants this and Lee is gagging for it. John, in terms of team news going into this game, probably maybe someone might surprise. We saw Brandon Austin given the opportunity in goal with Christian Romero, Eric Dier, Davinson Sanchez making up that back line ahead of him. We had obviously Spurs' new Brazilian up front in Richarlison, who was given a start in a front three with Brian Hill, Lucas Moura, and it was lovely to have a welcome return for Oliver Skipp from injury, who partnered Rodrigo Bentancur in midfield. John, I suppose at this moment it's kind of difficult to really take much from a first 11, but do you like what Conte did there in terms of the mix and match a little bit, giving obviously some fringe players an opportunity as well as some of obviously our first team stars?
Yeah, I thought it was great for the likes of Brian Hill to get in there and come back after his loan and have some confidence, and be part of a starting 11. I thought he played very, very well. And then you have the midfield too that we've all wanted to see for such a long time in Ollie Skipp with Bentancur. And I thought Skipp was brilliant. He didn't look like that injury had held him back at all. Back to his tenacious self, charging around. And Bentancur too. I mean, from minute one, he wasn't treating it as a friendly. He was getting us on the front foot, highly aggressive in the tackle, the exact mould of midfielders that Conte loves, in those powerful units of a midfield. And we've now got 4 of them. And that's the luxury we're going to have this season, that are all of a very similar level. So, yeah, really excited from the lineup. And Richarlison, great to see him. In other years, Tottenham fans have waited sometimes a long time to see players given a start to settle in. But certainly this time, Conte's just thrown him straight in there. Number 9 shirt. He looked very up for it. He was unlucky not to score in the first half. That kind of trident from Brazil with him, Lucas and Emerson were all making things happen and very, very involved. Just really pleased with the minutes given around the squad. My only disappointment from today was something Tottenham couldn't help themselves, and that was obviously we've heard after the game about Bissouma and Forster being out with COVID. It's going to be disappointing to miss them, not just today, but also for the game against Sevilla. And then also they're going to have to fly home separately, which is disappointing because a lot of fans were looking to see those guys. I just hope they're fine with it and kind of asymptomatic, and we can get them back in the procedure as soon as possible and process of getting fit for the season.
Yeah, absolutely. We must just say that. I think we send all of our best wishes to Bissouma, Fraser Forster, missing out from today. And I think, like I said there, John, I think they're being isolated right from the rest of the group. So we'll just have to keep an eye and see how that goes, because I think, again, these guys, we're going to want to give them minutes in pre-season 100%.
I was just going to say, I don't think anyone will miss Fraser Forster by the impression he made on the plane talking about Doherty's goatee. It's like everyone looked at him and say, "Whoa!" And the way Eric Dier said, "Nice to see he's settling in, isn't it?"
Yeah, what a way! So, literally, yeah.
Everyone looked at him as if to say, "Oh, that's a bit harsh." So strange one.
Yeah, wait and see. Listen, I'm sure Conte will be keen to give Wellington. Basuma, you think he's going to come into that first 11, you would imagine. So, want to see him get minutes. Most importantly as well, must mention, Decky, he did miss training on Tuesday after pulling out during a Monday evening session. From what we understand, looks like a bit of a calf issue, but he was part of the matchday squad today. Again, hopeful you might see him potentially against Seville. Again, one we'll keep an eye on. But I mean, listen, that first 11 red coming over to you, Lee. We had Austin, Romero, Dier, Sanchez, Emerson, Skip, Bentancur, Sessegnon, Lucas, Richarlison, Brian Hill. So weird reading 11s again. It's like we've not even had a break. We're straight back into it again pre-season. Do you know what lovely the start of the game? How much love was Conte getting from that crowd? I mean, every time the screen panned to him, the fans were going absolutely wild. I mean, Conte very much loved over in South Korea like Sonny, right?
He started giving some of that, didn't he, to the camera, and the crowd was going mad. I mean, I echo what the boys said. I really enjoyed it. I thought the atmosphere was outstanding. Proper fans. You know, you won't get them moaning about misplaced passes. All you'll be worrying about is you know, who's on camera. And when, as you say, when Sonny came on, when Conte came on, Kane, you know, they absolutely loved it. But I must give a couple of shouts out, if I may, Rick. Sorry to give out some shouts out. So, Angela, you know you are very, very good long work friend from back in the day with me. Her nephew made his debut today in goal, Brandon Austin. So absolutely fantastic to see him in goal today. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not as good on the youngsters as John. I'm sure we'll go into that a little bit more. But I thought loads of comments going on with Harvey White as well, how well he come on and played. I thought the game had everything, as you said. It had a red card, didn't it? Had a penalty, had goals at either end, had calamitous defending, had some fantastic defending as well, and from both sides. I thought it was a brilliant header that they scored to get their equaliser. Even though I did wonder why Davinson Sanchez is going with his foot there. He's got to put his head in there, surely. But, yeah, maybe being ultra critical. But, Eric Dier's goal was... it wasn't just the finish, which was, by the way, bloody world class. Even H said it on his Instagram, right? But it was the way he came out and commanded it from the back and almost, was it a 1-2 or 1-2-3, whatever you want to call it, and then got the ball back and hit it. It was brilliant, top bins. So, yeah, for a very, very good workout. And, again, a lot of the people in the comments are saying this as well. So thank you, listeners as well, just to give you the heads up that they're talking about the beasting that the boys took. What was it, yesterday or the day before? I'm getting confused. Like that absolute beasting they took in training, which we all saw. Which again, I was absolutely fascinated by it, lads, listeners and viewers, because I think we said, I think Alistair Gold wrote an article a couple of months back or a month or so ago saying, oh, you know, Conte wants his players in early, get the pre-season, it's going to be grueling. We did a bit of a theme, I think, when you was on holiday, Rick, and I hosted, and we did a bit of a section on it around how the pre-season grueling kind of techniques and training would work. And, well, we all saw it with our own eyeballs, didn't we? It was absolutely fascinating to watch, to see who comes in and Kane vomiting from the side of the pitch and stuff. It's just brilliant because by the time the Premier League comes around, they are going to be absolutely at it, and it's fantastic to watch.
Yeah, it's mad. We're taking so much pleasure in seeing these players.
I know. It's all brilliant. Like you're thinking, you know, it's like it was a giant bleep test, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Like the Marine, is he called the Marine, isn't he? He's had them properly going, and it was like a giant bleep test. I'm thinking, blimey, the only one out of our WhatsApp group could probably complete that. Is probably Jamie. Jamie could probably complete it, couldn't he? Do you know what I mean? I'll be done out after about five attempts, I think.
And I think today, I thought maybe Kulusevski knew what was coming and thought, I've done these before. I know what. I'll have a calf strain.
Yeah, he's a little calf strain. Yeah.
If you listen to Conte, he said more or less that those who haven't done that drill yet will do it when they get back to London anyway. So there's no missing here, that's for sure.
I just think it's incredible when you see the energy levels out of the boys. I mean, the thing is, we know that probably by the start of the season, if we're going to train like that, we are going to be the fittest team in the league. There's no doubt about that. And this is where you get late goals from. We saw it in Pochettino as well in terms of the way we trained. I thought what was interesting when we started that game was we saw Richarlison go on a run. Ball broke to Emerson, and bless him, he hasn't lost his touch, has he? Emerson Royale in the 6-yard box. I mean, to be fair overall, Romero didn't look impressed at all by the miss. But, I mean, boys, really quick on Emerson on the overall performance. Because of the nature of the game, I'm not going to go too in-depth on it. John, what have you made about the speculation of Emerson in the summer based on that performance today? Do you still have confidence that he can be part of this squad moving forward? Or do you think it would be one that you'd be looking to move on, depending on how the rest of the window kind of formulates and pans out?
Yeah, I think if we get our first choice right wing back, I think it's commonly known that that's Jed Spence. I would probably look to move Emerson on. It's quite harsh, but basically it comes down to homegrown regulations. Doherty counts as homegrown in the Premier League. Emerson doesn't. It's as simple as that. We need to balance the squad. And I think you can still recoup some decent money on Emerson, 23-year-old Brazilian international, who did very well in La Liga. And actually, as I said, it's harsh because the back end of last season, I thought he was actually very good for Tottenham and played a key role in us finishing in the top four. But I'm not going to judge too much on today. Actually, worse than that, this was a mental back pass he did that went out for a corner. I don't know if you remember, he picked it up on about the halfway line and just launched it backwards. And Austin ended up in the advertising audience. How's that for a debut? So that was even worse than the miss. It's slightly harsh, but I'd probably move Raw on if we manage to secure a first choice right wing back.
Yeah, I mean, Adam puts in a question here. Adam Pearce says, why do people freak out when players look so rusty during the first pre-season game? I do love that. And Josh also comes in. Josh the Boring Git says, can the Premier League adopt the K-League style player shout-outs by the announcer every time a player does something of minor significance? So in that first, I think, 5 or 6 minutes, you had Lucas Moura's name being read over on the Tanover. You had Romero too. These players were just touching the ball. It wasn't much going on, but they were getting a name announcement, James. Would you like to see that in a Premier League format?
No, I don't want any commentary. I don't want any commentary at all. I don't want goal music or anything. Just let fans get on with it and have atmosphere that way.
It was a really, really interesting showcase, wasn't it, in terms of a game? But we talked about Eric Dier. Let's come over to you, Lee, because you purred about that finish. It was a great run from him from the halfway line, smashed the ball into the top corner, actually captained Spurs in that first half today. I mean, he looks like he's absolutely relishing playing under Conte. And I think, like I said, there's a real desire inside of him to get that England place back under Gareth Southgate. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I mean, I think the finish was excellent. I think that he just looked really assured today. You know, when you look at some of the players, like a bit rusty, as you just said, and it's pre-season, it's all about getting minutes in your legs. It's all about that training aspect. The season doesn't start today. It starts in a month's time or 3.5 weeks' time or whatever it is. And that's when you need to be up to full throttle. But there's no doubt that he's kept himself in really good shape across the summer, across the break. He's an intelligent guy, and I think that's important because Conte. We've talked about it so much before in the past, so forgive me, but Conte plays in NFL playbook style. So the amount of different plays that they've got at any one time, tactical analysis and understanding where to put the ball and how to ping it and he's got a really good footballing brain, in my opinion, Eric. So to be able to pick that up, that's why I think that he's been able to be one of these players that have improved so much. It was only probably last summer that most people watching and listening and probably including us, well, definitely you, Rick, that would be getting rid of him. Do you know what I mean? Exactly, yeah. Getting rid of him. And now, let's not go overboard, right? He's not a Virgil van Dijk, but he is definitely assured in that back three system, and we'd miss him if he wasn't there. That is for sure. I mean, some of the passing he did today was excellent as well. Like the longer ball passing. It'd be very interesting to see, and I know we're going to come on to him, how Longley or Lenglet, however you want to say it's Longley, right? It'd be very interesting to see how he comes in and how he deputises, or if he becomes the number one left-sided centre-back, or if he comes in to deputise for Eric Dier, because his passing range is also outrageous. So very, very interesting what Conte and Paratici are building at Tottenham, and it's hugely exciting. And I'm really pleased for Eric, because I know he's not essentially one of our own, but when we purchased him for $3 million, he made his debut, didn't he, against West Ham, scored that 92nd minute winner under Poch. We heard rumours that pre-season actually that he was playing as a central midfielder in training, and I remember thinking, what? I thought he was a defender. He actually played right back that day. So you couldn't make it up. Classic Tottenham, innit? Buy him as a centre back, train him as a midfielder, and then he plays right back. He obviously scored the winner, but I do look at, I know John is some bizarre and Jason is some bizarre rule that he's not homegrown or whatever because of he's in Portugal or whatever. But I do look at him as almost one of our own. Does that make sense to everybody? So yeah, I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased for him. I only ever want players to do well. Now, if Chunga and Dembele come back and he was just amazing, fantastic. Like that's
We'd all
all
want that.
we
We would
want,
all want
don't
that, right?
we? It's,
Yeah.
exactly. It's so fair play to him. He's done really, really well, and I'm all for that. I just think of that. If you look at our back three, and then the players that we've got to deputise that or whatever it might be, however you want to say it, you know, everyone's got their own opinion on who wants to start, but to have 5 or 6 centre backs that you wouldn't worry about who comes in would be absolutely amazing. Yeah, I am. Cheers, Jamie. I've butchered their names. That's what we both do. Me and Brazil, we both butchers people's names.
Jason, because he's one of the listener questions. I know we just really touched on Emerson Royale there already, but this is from Jamie Soper. Jamie, who's put you can't make this up at that time. It is Jamie's comment. Loving the backdrops. Shame about John's backdrop in terms of a hostage video, which I don't think is the case. I can say John is enjoying this. It's not a hostage situation. John, you want to confirm that very quickly?
Ricky, I'm alive, safe and well. And
John, have you nicked my tree? Have you nicked my tree?
Perfect tree that is, mate.
Oh, brilliant. Jamie puts in a question in. Jace, you can take this one. He says, do you think if we go into next season with Royale as our first choice, well, do you think we can go into next season with Royale as our first choice right wing back, or should we invest a chunk of the money into a marquee player for that position? I know obviously Jed Spence is the one being heavily linked. Would that satisfy your confidence going to next season, Jace?
No,
Jed Spence and Emerson Royale? Or Jed Spence and Doherty?
Whoever it is, I think you want a specialist, somebody at wing back that really specialises in the job. And I'm not so sure Emerson Royale is a wing back specialist. If he's there, so be it. It's a little bit frustrating that the Jed Spence deal is taken as long as it is, because, you know, you really think a Championship club, a Champions League club, you know, if we're arguing over a couple of million here or there, that's frustrating. And we understand that Jed Spence hasn't gone on Middlesbrough's pre-season tour, so it's obvious that deal will happen. But it's frustrating that one is taking so long. And in fairness to Tottenham, you know, they've sorted 5 out, so maybe it is Middlesbrough that are just haggling for the sake of it. But no, I still feel comfortable with a genuine wing back, and if it's not Spence, then it's somebody else.
Jace,
but I don't think I wouldn't wait until the end for Jed Spence. I think there comes a stage where you think, look, it's time to move on, and you bring somebody. Jed Spence is not the world's best right wing back at the moment. He's a bloke that's never kicked a ball in the Premier League. So at some stage, you think, do you know what, we move on from this and we try something else.
Yeah, I don't disagree massively. I think he needs an element of coaching there. John, what do you reckon? We'll come on to Lee after.
Just on the Jed Spence deal, I think it's really interesting that we saw that report linking us or making it known that Tottenham had this buyback on Kyle Walker-Peters. Now, to me, if there is ever a rumour where the club have said to a journo, put this out there for us as a kind of a favour, that does go on 100%.
Yeah.
That was that. That was to encourage the Jed Spence deal. Tottenham got no interest in bringing Kyle Walker-Peters back, especially at 30 million. To me, I think they're all in on Jed Spence, and I think Middlesbrough just playing, you know, difficult with Levy. I don't know what the previous relationship's like between Gibson and Levy, but they know that Tottenham want the player. The player's made it clear he only wants to come to Tottenham. So Middlesbrough are doing all they can to get as much money as possible.
Hopefully, you know, I saw Troy Parrott linked with Borough today.
Yeah.
So that's the type of thing that suddenly smooths away, doesn't it? Well, you want our player, and we come to an agreement over a couple of £1 million and that with a loan player and things like this, and hopefully that type of thing gets done.
That'd be a good move, I think, for Parrott as well. That'd be a really good move, I think, for him. Go on,
I think it might be. I just had a slightly different take on the Jed Spence thing. I completely agree with you, John, about Kyle Walker-Peters. That is absolutely a gimme. Right? I'll throw that in the ring 1,000,000%. But I wonder whether or not Conte isn't sure about getting rid of Doherty and Emerson. And I'm thinking to myself, do you know what? Maybe, like you just said, Jace, right? To be fair to Spurs, they've got 5 in the door. If they wanted him, they'd have got him in the door. And I'm just wondering whether or not, a little bit like Man City with the Harry Kane scenario last year, it was like, well, you know, we will have him for like 100 million or whatever, but we're not going to go and smash the, you know, I'm not going to go and put in a big arse offer to actually sign him. And I'm just wondering whether or not Conte's thinking, let me have a look at these two boys, see how they get on in pre-season on the tour, and we'll see how we go. And it's almost like a take it or leave it, because again, they're rumours, right? But the reports are, you know, from some really excellent journalists out there, that Atletico Madrid have offered I know it's a loan, but they've offered a loan option for Emerson Royale. So you would think, hang on, if you've got an out for Emerson Royale to go to Atletico and you really want Jed Spence, you could have had an extra 1 million or 2 million, whatever they're haggling over. And he could be out there now training and puking on the side of the pitch. And I just think that they've missed, well, do you know what I mean? I think they've missed a trick if they really wanted him. So I'm just wondering whether or not Conte's happy with the two that he's got.
You know what? I mean, the thing is, like you just said earlier, if they were desperate, if he wasn't interested in either of them, I know it's a bit of a dodgy thing, this, I mean, in terms of leaving them at home, we've obviously seen that he's not taken Ndombele, he's not taken Lo Celso. Reguilon looks like he's in talks potentially, or his advisors are in talks with Seville. So you would think by the fact they've come here, it's because Conte has a genuine desire to see what they're going to be like in pre-season, because they're not going to play. I mean, why else would you bring them, right? If there's any doubts about their future,
I think for sure. I mean, if he didn't take one of them, then it'd have been short as a right wing back, wouldn't he? So he needs at least two. But I suppose the point I'm making is that we could have, if he didn't really want to have a look at them and he really wanted Jed Spence, they would have got him in before the trip. I think Longlay's slightly different, as Jace just said, but we were talking in agreement, weren't we? Me, John, and Jace, about the whole visa thing. It's a little bit embarrassing, isn't it? Like, if the fact is that he hasn't gone because he couldn't get a visa to get into the country, or I don't know if it was a work permit visa. I don't know. He's French, right? So maybe we're not in the EU anymore. Maybe he needs a work permit. I don't know. But I read that it was a visa issue for South Korea. And if that's the case, again, that seems like a little bit of a detail that the way Spurs have operated so far, you would have thought that detail would have been worked out. Does that make sense, lads? Listeners,
absolutely.
viewers?
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, so I've got 5 in already, and we're early July. I think the club would have been disappointed that they wouldn't have had Longley on this trip. I think 100% Conte wants to work with his players as early as possible. And we were sitting there earlier and joking about the training regime, the brutal training regime they were put through in the early days. I would imagine Conte would have wanted every single player to have gone through that in terms of those players that he sees as being part of his plans for the upcoming season. So, I mean, again, it's interesting because another question that came in here today was from Aussie Spur TV. And he said Moura playing at right wing back today. Do you think that's a trial? Or is that just covering for the game? You're shaking your head there, all shaking your head, boys. You don't think so, Jace? No?
No, I think it's just covering for the game because, I think ideally he wanted everyone to get 45 minutes. And then with Basuma missing, with Kulusevski being unable to play, he just had to John will know that Harvey White isn't a left wing back either. But it was just a case of putting bodies out there in positions. I don't think you want to look too much into the position of players and such today, not at all.
Also, must be interesting. Well, I must also state this out. Matt Doherty, we touched upon the right wing back area. Today, he played out on the left wing and then he did switch to the right later on. So again, Conte using the flexibility of him being able to play a couple of different positions. But I think we all agree with Matt that we did see his quality last season when they thankfully moved him over to the right. There's no doubt about that. And I've said it before, again, I will say that. I think for me, going into next season, if Spurs do get Spence over the line, I agree with all you boys. I think if we wanted him, we would have got him by now. I still have, for me, think in the squad, I think that'll be our weakest area, would be that right wing back slot. Currently. Unless we go out and spend on a marquee player. I think, as I've said with Spence, if Conte wants him, I'm behind him, but there's going to need to be a lot of coaching there. As I keep on reiterating, my concern is Bayern Munich on a Wednesday, Chelsea on a Sunday. That's a big turnaround for that area of the squad. So let's see what happens.
At least we ain't playing on a Thursday, Rick. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's a good point. We don't play on Thursdays these days. Listen, I should be exactly this. How can I even discuss it over and after a comment like that? Boys, let's touch upon.
I just want to call out SOF SOF in the comments because they're writing some comments on there as well. So make some good points, but cheer up. Do you know what I mean? Like, we just made 5 signings before we've even started. And we're saying that we're going to scrap for 4th place. You're talking about we've got Ben Davies and Chelsea is signing Nathan Ake. Well, I think that Ben Davies is better than Nathan Ake, personally, as a left centre back. The season he's just had has been absolutely outstanding. The way he's playing for Wales has been absolutely outstanding. So there's no guarantees. Look, Chelsea signing some of them players that they're signing, of course they're strengthening. But what we've done is strengthened in the right places, in the right areas. And I still think that we need a couple, like, for sure. So I agree. Like I say, you've made some good points, but it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, I'm not quite sure. That we're going to be scrapping for fourth. I think with this team under Conte stewardship, I think is a lot further up the league than that. To be fair, I don't know what you guys think, but make some good points.
I don't think Conte will be here if he's scraping for fourth.
No
I don't
chance.
think they've just made 5 signings. If making 5 signings is scraping for fourth, I think he's looking at the bigger picture. I genuinely think Conte wants to win the league. Whether that's doable is another question, but that's what I think he wants to do, Jason.
I think also too the comment there about the K-League players were sitting our players down, and yes, they were. But as far as I know, we won't be playing in something like 85% humidity, in 36 degrees of heat in the middle of a monsoon too often on a Champions League night. So, it's a lot easier to sit people down when you're playing in those conditions. And that's 2 days after 42 laps of the pitch and things like that. Make some allowance for the training that went on Monday and the conditions that they were playing the game in before you just say that. I mean, there's a long way. We didn't see anyone sit down Sessegnon all last season, did we, in the Premier League? So why just because one K-League player does it in the middle of a monsoon do we suddenly go into a panic and think our defenders are only ever going to be sat down? That's a silly comment.
Jake, just as well, I think we have to remember the K-League players were in the midway point of their season.
Yeah,
for us, we've had a week back. It's totally different. Doesn't matter what level you play at. Being in the rhythm of playing week in, week out compared to some people that have done a long flight, jet lag, 42 laps the day before, is a different world. We still got the job done. We still won 6-3. So let's have a bit of grit. And just on another point there, about signings and Chelsea doing this, Chelsea that. There is no guarantee when you make big money signings. Surely we all know that by now. Chelsea signed Lukaku. That some people packed him off straight away. There is no guarantee when you spend money that it's a success. So whatever we think about Koulibaly or Ake, who's already failed once at Chelsea before, there is no guarantee they come in and do as good a job as Rudiger did, who for me was the best defender in the Premier League last season. They've lost for nothing. For Christensen, who's been there for a number of years, they haven't actually improved the squad. They've just replaced players that have gone with no guarantee of success that they're better than what they had before.
No, absolutely. And that's exactly right. Yes, Chelsea look like they might sign Ake, but they've lost Rudiger. They've lost Christensen. They may well lose Azpilicueta. They haven't signed Ake in addition to everyone they've got. People are going mad, they're bringing this in, but they'll lose Ziyech. They've lost Lukaku. It's an entirely different scenario.
What we will do is very quickly, we'll just go for our first break of the show. For our listeners that are on audio, taking into break, you're going to hear from Antonio Conte, who gives you his post-match reaction from today's 6-3 win against the Team K-League. For our watching audience on YouTube, there's nearly 700 of you plus watching us live. So thank you so much, as always, for all of your incredible support as we are back already reviewing a pre-season friendly, getting into it as we go here. And again, thank you so much for all the love, all the support, as always, for Last Word on Spurs. James, you've got a shout there for Prime Minister. He speaks the truth. I think the way it's going, you might get in the way it is going in the UK over here. Don't mark anything as a non-go the way things are going over here in terms of the UK. Let's talk about the equaliser, boys. Bit of a messy one, for being honest with you. John, let's start with you. Gui Sung Cho. I've probably lightly absolutely battered that guy's name. So thankfully for his sake and for our sake, I think that's one we probably won't be signing this summer. So that's one I won't have to learn in terms of a name. He got right in between Dier and Sanchez to level the score before half-time. I think John at the time, he said, what a cracking header. It was a really, really good header. But again, maybe another example of Sanchez looking to try and clear his foot when it should have been his head. Are we going to judge it too much, John, or is it just simply pre-season, get these mistakes out of the system?
Yeah, I think it is pre-season, and as we said, look, long flight, players tired, etc. And actually, I thought Sanchez was very fortunate not to give a penalty away a few moments before that. To me, that was a stonewall penalty that we sort of escaped, and actually, I think the ref was very much in our favour throughout the game today.
Absolutely,
I thought the K-League boys were quite unlucky with a few things, but yeah, that, that was just. I just thought it was a really good header, actually, the way it was planted in pace and power. Proper old school centre forwards header, and I thought all the K-League goals today were actually pretty good, apart from the free kick maybe Lloris could have done a bit better with. But yeah, I'm not going to go too harsh on that. I think it's just first game of pre-season. These things happen. As I said, we went there, we got the job done. We won 6-3. I think we can just leave it as that.
No, that's cool. I mean, as we said about Sanchez, a player that did perform really well towards the backstage of the season. Lee, are you the same as John? Are you prepared to kind of write it off in terms of pre-season? it's about giving players minutes, or do we look into it any more sinisterly that he's been here for 5-6 seasons and there's a reason why he's a backup to the likes of Romero, Davis?
I don't think there's anything
Guys.
sinister about it, fella, to be fair. Look, I think him as a left centre back is an absolute joke. If I'm brutally honest, like I'm not just talking about today, I'm talking about
You mean experiencing it, or you actually mean putting him there?
Like, he should not be a left centre back. Davinson Sanchez should not play in the left centre back position ever, in my opinion. But I think as a deputy to Romero, i.e., on the right side of the three, I think he's more than capable. So no, I actually think he's good. I think he's a good player to come in as an understudy for Romero on the right side, but definitely not on the left side. So yeah, I mean, do we need to upgrade him? I think that the homegrown issue, like I don't know much about it. John and Jason know a lot more about that sort of stuff than me. But like with the whole Tanganga situation, again, I wouldn't be playing Tanganga as a left centre back or a centre back either. He'd be playing on the right. So for me, you've got Romero, Sanchez, and Tanganga in vying for one position, and you've got them three players. So I don't see us going to sign another centre back and then keeping them two as well. But I do think that we do need to sign another centre back. And although I wasn't calling Soft out, but when I was chatting about Soft before about, Davis and that sort of stuff, I wouldn't personally want to sign Nathan Ake to replace Ben Davis personally. But I would absolutely love to sign Bastoni. And I think that is the difference. Like for me, if we signed a left-sided centre back, and this is not because Davis is poor, it's because Bastoni is, a title winner and Davis isn't. And, we talk about winners and that sort of stuff. I think that if we had the likes of a Bastoni in our side as a left centre back, linking up with Perisic, linking up with Conte, alongside the likes of Eric Dier and Romero, I think that's a potential title winning defence. That's what I think. So I do think that we need to improve our defence. So a lot of points being made in the comments that we need to improve. I agree. I think we still need to get a centre back in, but for me it will be a specialist left-sided centre back rather than somebody on that right side. Because I don't think, other than Ben Davis, this is obviously we haven't spoken about Longley and we don't know Longley. We don't know what he's going to do. But other than Ben Davis at the moment, there's no one else that can play that left-sided centre-back at the moment, unless, of course, he has brought in Longley to do that. Because there's been reports, hasn't there, that he's brought Longley in to deputise for Eric Dier. So that would mean Rodon's got to go, Tanganga or Sanchez. Two out of them three, you would have thought, John, what do you think, that's going to move on, no?
Yeah, there's a bit of recency bias with this as well, because obviously, look, Sanchez was poor today. Let's not make excuses about that. But let's remember that when Romero got injured before Arsenal, 3 games to go, back end of last season, who stepped in? Big Davinson Sanchez. What did we do? 9 points, 3 clean sheets. He stepped in seamlessly, right? He stood up for the shirt and played a big part with those performances in getting us over the line and getting us in the top 4. There was no panic in the defence. There was no anxiety. It was just straight in there, good performances. And I think he's proven that he can be relied on as a backup. I'm not asking for him to start, but as a backup, I think he's there. And I totally agree with you, Lee. If we're going to spend on a centre-back, I want it to be that top-table, left-sided centre-back. And if we can't get a Bastoni or Gabigol from the German defender, then I'm happy with Longley. Let's see how he does. Conte wanted him into Milan. Let's see what he can bring to the side for a year and then reassess our options. But in terms of the two you mentioned, I certainly think it'll be Rodon that's moving on, because what people forget is Tanganga, until we got injured in January away at Chelsea, had made 18 appearances from the start of the season until then. Rodon hadn't started a league game at that point. It's obvious which one is preferred by the manager. Plus, Tanganga counts as homegrown, and in an emergency, he could cover at right back or right wing back or whatever. Whereas Rodon is very much just for that central role.
Also, John, just to interact with you there as well, we were saying this on the WhatsApp group, weren't we? Us lot before. There's 3 managers now, maybe 4 if you count even Mason in there, that haven't fancied Rodon, like for whatever reason. Like if you think about it, people say, like Jose left the club saying watch Rodon, he's going to be outstanding. Yet he never played him, right? Like he never played. He never played under Nuno. He never played under Mason. Really, he hasn't played under Conte. There must be something that we're not seeing. Because all of the reports, all of the things, we like him. Like I'm not Kane and Rodon like at all. Like I don't think he's been given a big enough opportunity to even show us. Is a bloke even played 10 games in a row for us? So what do you think on Rodon? Is there something that we're not seeing?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because obviously he goes away for Wales and delivers very, very good performances as well, and he's kind of a leader in that back three for Wales. He's obviously working well at Tottenham, training ground. He's keeping fit so he can deliver those high-level performances for Wales. But what was really telling for me was this season there was a period when Dier was now injured. Rodon didn't come in. Conte did what Mourinho did. Conte said to us that he was the backup for Dier in the central role. But when that happened, he still didn't come in. I appreciate he may have had a rib injury and he played through some pain in the game against Morecambe, but he really wasn't given an opportunity. And I explained, earlier on, the amount of minutes and games Tanganga had over him. So it's abundantly clear who the managers prefer. And I just think it's better for all concerned if Rodon does move on this summer, for his own good, with the World Cup coming up, to go and get a steady run of form. And I'm just surprised, actually, that teams like Forest, Fulham, whoever, haven't come in and got that deal over the line for him already. Because
especially Forest, I bet that's a great shout. Because it's his old manager as well.
He worked for Cooper, Swansea,
manager,
absolutely. But Forest has spent 16 million on a defender from the Bundesliga, a young French defender. And they've obviously seen that as a better shout than going for Rodon. So I could see Rodon maybe ending up at Fulham. And it gives him a chance to stay in London as well.
That's one of the reasons why Ben Davies and Eric Dier are getting called out in the comments here, because they're called Ben Davies and Eric Dier. If I was called Bernardo de Farzeni or Eric de Dier or whatever, they'd be loving it. Exactly. It's more names for me to butcher.
We had Rodrigo Defendi before, and he was sodding hopeless, and we got him back to Brazil.
True.
So the names don't always work.
No, exactly.
And Gilberto as well.
I generally can't understand the not the hate, that's too much, but the absolute criticism of. I think if you're saying, is there a better defender in the world than Eric Dier at centre back? You have to say yes. You have to be honest and say yes. So therefore, you could replace him and get a better one. And the same with the left centre back. You could answer the same thing. So maybe we're clutching at straws. I think the amount of progression that individual players under Conte's coaching has had in 7 months without a pre-season and doing all the stuff. Can you imagine what they're going to do to Longley? Can you imagine? Can you imagine what he's going to do? He's already shown that, was it Seville, wasn't he, before? And then he came back to Barcelona and had a couple of years that weren't so great for him. He gets a bit of confidence back into him, and all of a sudden he's going to be pinging balls over the top for Son and Kulusevski to run onto. And I mean, it could be very, very good. I mean, can they go up another level? Some people's opinions in the comments and in the listeners' questions are that they've hit their ceiling, they can't go up. But we don't know that yet. Let's see. Let's see if they can go another gear, another level. I think Eric Dier and Ben Davies can give a really good account of themselves again this year.
And Lee, what Eric Dier and Ben Davies can turn around and say to any criticism is, we've been part of a Tottenham team that have finished in the Champions League in 5 of the last 7 seasons. That is an undisputed fact, and played a lot of football in all of those seasons. You cannot argue that they weren't involved. Yes, they were. And they played a big part, and they've improved. Both of them actually had difficult confidence dips in the Mourinho era. And obviously Davies was battling with Rose during the Poch years, whereas Dier played a lot, is kind of dropping back into a back three then, with the great, Alderweireld and the Tongan partnership. But they've improved no end under Conte. Both of them, confidence-wise, have come back to their best football they've delivered in a Tottenham shirt. I think it's unfair to hold long-standing grudges against people and not allow scope for improvement.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. It's a very, very, very good point.
Do you want to come in on that, Jace?
Welcome back, lads.
The neighbour's about to put the hose on, that's why. I thought we'd get absolutely soaked to the noise.
And I was recording next to him, so I've come upstairs as well. We're in separate rooms.
Ever since John nicked my tree at the start of the show, I've had troubles. So, no, I just thought I'd tail end of it. I saw a comment there about Eric Dier will get found out in the Champions League. But, Eric Dier was in the Spurs squad that made a Champions League final. I mean, you can nitpick these players, but and you can always improve. Yes, there's a better central defender than Eric Dier. There's a better central defender than the next one. There's you get Ruben Dias. Is there a better central defender in Virgil van Dijk? It's can Tottenham get these better ones? Otherwise we there's no team in the world that has the 11 best players in their position in every single position, is there?
Robert Huth won the Premier League. Robert Huth won the Premier League.
Robert Huth won the Premier League. Victor Moses won the Premier League with Chelsea under Conte and that. So Ashley Young won a league title under Conte. So let's you should always look to improve, but to just be sitting here and saying, well, write this one off and write that one off, you will actually then be replacing pretty much 23 members of the squad in that case, and you can't possibly do that.
No, it kind of ties into a nice point that we did see Spurs make 6 changes at the break. Lloris, Tanganga, Sanchez, Højbjerg, Kane and Doherty all coming on. They left Son to come on a minute later. That got obviously an incredible reception of his own, and it was a lovely moment for Sonny. It was actually a lovely moment from Conte there to give him that opportunity to come on by himself. And look at this, it's a night of all different species and animals. Lee showing his dog
Marley,
to us.
mate.
There we go.
Hello to Marley McQueen. Look. Hello,
Marley
mate.
McQueen.
Marley McQueen, here he is. Right, bugger off.
Love it. Harry Kane with an almost instant impact, Jace, to come over to you. 1 minute after the restart, it's cross-diverted into, one of the Team K League players' own net. But subsequently, very quickly, Jace, it was 2-2. Oh, God, I mean, this equaliser, the guy, I think, Velwick, if I pronounce his right, had an absolute acres of space, fired past Hugo Lloris. And Paul Lloris had been on for a minute as well, Jace. It was a bit of a crazy, chaotic start to the second half.
It was. I thought he took that goal really well. His movement, the way he was, he just pulled himself back to the edge of the area. That's the movement of a top quality player, and it was a really good controlled finish. No, fair play to them. They scored a couple of good goals, but I thought Kane, from the moment he came on, you could just see his qualities, his passing range and things like that. You just looked at him and thought, this is a serious player, isn't he?
Yeah, he looked on it, didn't he?
I know that's a silly thing to say, but you just look at him and think, this is a serious footballer now we've got here. This is, his quality on the ball is ridiculous.
It's funny because he's renowned for starting the season so slowly, and again, it's only pre-season, not getting carried away, but already back in amongst the goals. And I think the goal itself, the brilliant left-footed strike, the way he took the goal was superb. It was one of those things with Kane, it's just natural instinct to him. Doesn't have to think about that. Beautiful finish. And and Spurs, again, we went, obviously, having a 4-2 lead. Coming over to you, John. Penalty given. I think there was maybe some, suspicion. Would Kane give it to Son? But listen, it was only probably right. Son in his home country stroked it home. We saw, obviously, the iconic celebration. Any problems, John, giving it to Son in a pre-season? Got any problems with that?
No, I mean, if it was in any form of competitive game where stats and records are counted, Sonny wasn't touching that ball. But no, fair play, gave it over to Sonny, and it was good to see Sonny dispatch the penalty. Also, just on the penalty, one of the most bizarre pens I think I've ever seen. Someone attempting to catch the ball. I mean, it's like he had a great big fruit bowl and he was just waiting for it to come in. It was utterly bizarre, and it added to the kind of madness of the friendly as a whole.
I thought I was watching the cricket at one point. I thought,
honestly,
the cricket's back on.
But great for Sonny to score in front of, obviously, fans that have come out and love Sonny to bits. And brilliant. Good for him, really good.
Yeah, totally agree. And then we saw, Lee, coming to you, this game with just goals, just galore, 4-3, hitting back again, Team K, with Juan Amano making up for his handball from earlier, firing that free kick past Lloris. So, I don't know what you thought, Lee. Lloris seemed to be massively out of position, right? Just completely just left one side of the goal unguarded. Did you think the same as me?
Well, to be honest, I thought he probably left that side because he thought the wall would do the protection, and the wall was absolutely shocking. You may as well have not had the wall. But there was two. It was Son. Who's in the wall? It was Son and Sar. When it's Sar, they were like that. The ball comes out, and they just did that. They just went, "Oh, right, there's the ball. Put your head on it, boys." I mean, what's happening there? So I did feel, to be fair to Lloris, I think he got a hand to it, didn't he? To be fair, but he scrambled out across. And actually, it was the wall's fault, in my opinion. Like it just split. It was like bloody ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, he made up for his like his weird cricket catch that he gave the handball away from. But yeah, it was a weird passage of play, wasn't it, over that kind of 10 minutes.
Yeah,
you're right, Lee. If the wall does its job, it just goes straight into the wall. Hits Sarr on the top of the head, he nods it clear. I mean, or he just, blocks it with his head or whatever. I don't know why he ducked and turned his back at the same time. It was, what are you doing?
It was bizarre, and the game kept becoming more of a crazy affair, John. Sonny on a clear run and goal, brutally taken out. Again, like I say, it's a straight red card. I don't think you could argue it was a red card. I saw that argument on Twitter saying, "Oh, it's a friendly, let the guy off." But I mean, in the rules of football, he surely had to go, John, right? The correct decision by the referee? Well, I'm just going to unmute John.
Sorry, the rules are the rules. And I think the bigger point there is actually, as I said, the Korean lads are halfway through their season. For them, they've not just started, they are half of the season. You can't be bringing someone down last man like that. So, yeah, straight red. And, as I said, added another element to a very, very strange game. Lots of things going on.
And lots of things going on, Lee. Harry Kane scoring from a free kick. Now, the last time he did that was 2nd of November, 2014. That's 2,810 days later. Already, are we seeing Gianni Vio already working his magic?
Gianni Vio, he's better than been here a day. Can make it up. I actually put that tweet out earlier. I think, John, you replied to it as well. Or Lilywhite Rose replied to it with a big picture of him. Look, fair play to him. He's been there 24 hours and Kane scoring free kicks for the first time in 8 years. He must be doing something right. I tell you what was really interesting about when they were setting up that free kick. And if you haven't looked at this, go and watch it back. It's worth doing. Kane and Son obviously having a conversation about who's going to take it. And when Kane walks over and he's having a little look or whatever, he actually turns around and whispers something almost to Son to go, "I reckon we should just hit it in the bottom left-hand corner. Oh, smash it." It looks like that's what he's got. And then he's gone to smash it. And to be fair, he just hit the wall. Like, he hit the wall as well, but he got a massive deflection and went in the back of the net. It's like, that's how Kane scores.
It was actually another shocking Kane free kick.
It was an absolutely shocking Kane free kick, wasn't it? To be fair, it was. So, yeah, I mean, look, fair play, he got it. And actually, it's going back to the Son penalty. Obviously, in hindsight, because Sonny scored his goal himself, I bet Kane wish he'd have taken that penalty. He had a hat-trick today.
That's true.
I
just wonder, John, was there any concern at all, the fact that Kane is still on these free kicks? I mean, you've been an advocate on Last Word On Spurs saying, get Kane off them. Anything we should play, any thinking into there, bearing in mind Sonny, obviously on international duty, he scored 2, and then the first opportunity comes along in his home country, and he still can't get an opportunity to take one.
Oh no, that was payback for giving Sonny the penalty. I tell you, you're on free kicks.
Maybe
because you have the penalty. I think a little bit of that went on.
I think the angle as well. I mean, it was so close into the goal. As Lee said, I think Kane just said, "I'm going to welly this." Basically, there's no one with a harder shot at the club than Kane. Hit it hard and low, and if it does bounce off a defender, you hit it with so much power that they can't really control where it's going, and it just bounced off him and gone into the other corner.
So that's what he said, John. I swear he said, "I was going to smash this."
But that new set piece geezer as well. He's got such an amazing face for a meme as well. So throughout the season, when Kane's put back on the free kick, I'm going to keep sending that face of him. He looks like a kind of like a wizard from a computer game or something. He looks phenomenal. So I'm going to keep using him as a meme throughout the season. I'm sure that will catch on.
4,000 set pieces. We're looking to see many of these. Well, listen, Harry Kane.
Spursy writes in the comments that was number 1,128 out of the set piece playbook. There you go.
Not bad. I mean, looking forward to seeing the other 3,000.
It's a bloody annual, Rick. It's an annual. Do you know what I mean? It's like an encyclopedia this fella's got.
Well, listen, the guy's been around. I think he was at Leeds before. Do you know, I think it's a good thing. We talk about rejuvenating the squad. The coaching staff as well is have a little bit of a reshuffle. I don't think that's a bad thing. Trying to bring new ideas to the table. Again, another season, new season. You want to have different ideas there. So listen, fair play. Spurs.
Just on that point, sorry, but just on that point, I think it's a really good point because I'm excited to see that little shuffle around. Do you remember when we took whatever it was, but the stats, 78 days or 72 days to appoint a manager? And there was a load of talk, wasn't there, about that Levy wouldn't allow extra coaching staff to come in and all this jizzle that was going on. But actually, now you think about it, Conte's got obviously come in and he's got his people around him, and now he's adding to that. Sir Clive Woodward back in the day when England won the 2003 World Cup final in the rugby, he was one of the first coaches to bring in separate coaching elements for defence. I know it's a different game, but I suppose the comparison I'm making is that why not? Like, there's enough money in football now, especially at a club like Tottenham, to be able to bring in specialist coaches on all sorts of stuff. I mean, I read earlier in the week that Liverpool have had a throw-in coach, for example, for the last 12 months or so. And Jason and I have said this for years and years on the show, like, it's fine margins, isn't it? So if you can bring somebody in, give you a fine, just that extra bit, fine margin that might make a difference, give you an extra 3 points or an extra 8 points throughout the seasons, that means that there's 8 extra points that somebody else ain't getting, and therefore we're further up the table. So I'm all for that. Like, I think that's revolutionary to start thinking about different aspects of that. And my viewpoint would be, what else can we do? What else can we improve? Because if you can improve 1% every week, you've improved over the year 52%.
It's also a case, Lee, isn't it? We've sat here as fans many times and bemoaned how poor we are, or the perception of how poor we are from set pieces. We're nowhere near the bottom of the league. It's surprising. We're actually nowhere near the bottom of the league, either at attacking set pieces or defending them. But we constantly moan about the number of goals we concede from set pieces and the fact that we don't score from set pieces. So the fact that that's recognised and they're trying to do something about it, surely that's a good thing anyway. You know, they've seen the same problems with us and think there's an area we've got to improve in.
Yeah, I agree.
Just
I do.
Go
on, John.
Sorry, just on the point Lee made earlier about doing the little bits more to get that 1% extra. I was lucky enough a couple of weeks ago to go on a tour of the training ground, and one of the guys that was doing the tour for me made it very, very clear. He said, we don't care, and we've been told this from above, if we have to spend 30, 40 grand more on getting more sports scientists in, more physios in, to get that extra 1%, so that if, for example, we can get Sonny back one day early and he scores the goal that gets you in the top 4, it pays for itself straight away. The club are absolutely doing that now. I don't know if they were before, but they are 1,000% doing that now, and I've seen it firsthand. And they also brought in a throw-in specialist last summer from Middlesbrough. I think he was actually called Thrower, which is absolutely bizarre, Andy Thrower or something.
Brilliant.
And he joined last summer from Middlesbrough. And not that we've seen any effect of that yet, but I'm looking forward to, if he's working and getting things, maybe we're going to start doing the old Rory Delac. Let's add more things to our game. Let's mix it up. Let's cause problems.
I think it's interesting, isn't it?
It is really interesting. I mean, we had H on, didn't we? Harry on a couple of weeks ago, Rick, and he was talking about that kind of coaching element, and it shouldn't just all be about data. It should also be about, I think he used a really good example actually, Alan St. Maximum, who I'm not a massive fan of, but he actually said, look, you can't replicate. You see his stats that he might have ran this far and he might have, assisted this many or scored this many. He said, but what you don't realise is when he gets the ball in a match situation, what does everyone else think? All of a sudden, I think, he's got the ball, and that creates something. The crowd get up, something changes, and you can't really replicate. I thought it was a really good point. Again, just that 1% margin piece of looking at elements like that, looking at elements of the throwing coach, the set piece coach. I mean, if we can go and, I think it was an outstanding stat. I think it was Charlie Eccleshare put it out there a couple of weeks back. Some graphs on set piece takers, and it was Man City and Liverpool were by far the best at scoring goals from set pieces. And I thought it was incredible. Like, you'd never think that. The brand of football that they play, you'd typically go, it might, I know I'm pigeonholing here, but you'd sort of go, it was a Stoke or it's a Burnley or a Bolton back in the day. But actually, the two best teams in the league last season had the best scoring ratios from set plays, and I thought it was incredible. So you've got to work
part of that, Lee, is that they spend more time around the opposition's box than most teams as well.
Probably getting fouled.
So there is that element to it. You got whereas Burnley are rarely up the opposition's box to get one, are they? So you have to figure that part into the equation as well.
John, let's come over to you. Again, we're trying to fill different sections of it tonight. We'll come back onto the game in a second. John, you was down at the training ground. Enfield Town last night, right? Enfield Town to see Spurs' under-21s play. Jason's favourite was back, Danny Rose in a Spurs shirt. I know Jason can't believe he was back. I think Jason's back in therapy for it, to be honest with you. I still can't get over it.
I'd have stayed in Bangkok an extra week if I'd have known Rose was back.
Question on the screen there from Ollie. John, anyone particularly impressed you in that under-21s game against Enfield? And I think, again, you actually put this out on your account yesterday about playing Conte's system. I think you want them to start playing like that way if Conte's going to be here. So do you want to tell us a bit more, John? Any player that impressed you?
Yeah, I mean,
the way they're set up?
They certainly didn't set up with a 3 at the back. And I put that out there because I find it frustrating. I want the club having a DNA the whole way through. That when you're in the under-18s, you're playing 3 at the back. When you go up to 21s, you're playing 3 at the back. Because, you know, this whole fear that fans seem to have, Conte's only around for 5 minutes. You know, we've got into the top 4 in his first season. Let's see what we do in this coming year. If we continue to improve and on an upward trajectory, let's get that 3-year contract out for him. Let's build something special with Antonio Conte at the club. And I want youth players ready. If they are called upon, they know the system they're playing. So I hope that Tottenham can start to do that. But they certainly were not doing that last night. The performance as a whole was very poor. I'm not going to shadow that. You know, a Tottenham Academy side should be rocking up at Enfield and winning 3-4-0. You know, whatever level at Tottenham you're at. And they simply didn't do that last night, which was, you know, disappointing. The squad certainly looked a lot better. With about 30 minutes to go, they brought on the likes of Keon Etete, you know, Tyrell Ashcroft, the new boy picked up from Reading, and a few other, Santiago Alonso, a few others that have had more experience playing 23s football. We instantly looked a lot better. Romain Mandale as well. Arteta's a bit unlucky, if you ask me. He trained with the first team in the first when they were back training. There was pictures of him with Eric Dier, and it seems like he wasn't called up to go on the senior tour. So I think his future probably does lie away from Tottenham now with Keon, and I've heard talk of Portsmouth being interested in a permanent move there. So I could see something coming of that with Tottenham in the knowledge that they've still got Dane Scarlett, they've still got Troy Parrott, and then also Jamie Donnelly, who's had a slight injury at the moment, and that's why he's out. He did also train with the first team last week. So lots to be excited for Tottenham youth set up this year coming. We've obviously got the Youth Champions League, a welcome return to that competition where you get to play against Europe's best. So yeah, disappointing one last night, but again, first game of pre-season, people like Rose playing. I was half expecting Michael Dawson to be ruled out for the second half. You know, it seemed like all sorts was going on. But there you go. You know, we move on from that, and their next game they're at Leighton Orient in the Justin Edinburgh Cup on Saturday. So hopefully people can get down for that.
Yep, we'll keep an eye on that and see how they get along. Turning it back to the pre-season friendly, Spurs again making a whole host of subs in that second half. Troy Parrott, Harvey White, Malachi, Fagan Walcott, and Charlie Sayers on for Dier, Sanchez, Richarlison, Lucas, respectively. John, will touch upon you on some of their performances for those youngsters shortly. Son did make it 6-3 to Spurs, though, after those whole host of changes. Really bad error at the back, and Son punished ruthlessly. And again, we saw with Sonny really reveling in the scenes there, enjoying the moment. Lee, I mean, bearing in mind these guys, the Team K-League, they're actually all playing at the moment. What a horrendous error that was at the back there for Son to get his brace.
Yeah, it was a shame for the lad, wasn't it? But great for Sonny. Fully deserved it. I mean, absolutely blown away, like we said at the beginning of the show, but absolutely blown away by the reception they got. I mean, that content was just literally, I was just dripping off my eyeballs, that content when Sonny was outside the airport, and you know, I couldn't stop watching it. I could not stop watching it. It was absolutely brilliant. So fully deserved in front of you know, what is a home crowd, is it? I suppose it's home crowd. It's like, there's more Son shirts in the stands, wouldn't there, than anything else. It's just brilliant. So fantastic for Sonny to get another goal as well. I'm glad it wasn't just a penalty. You know, to be fair, he would have definitely buried that other one that he got fouled for got the other bloke sent off. He had definitely scored there as well, wouldn't he? So yeah, look, I think all in now we've done all the goals and we've gone through the match. I think all in, it was a good run out for all of the guys. I mean, you got Richarlison on your list, Rick? Today,
like I say, I mean, listen, he's playing more of a kind of, he was put in more of a central role, wasn't he, today? You know, he's played primarily, you'd argue, maybe a number 9. You not agree, Jace?
No, he was. I was just thinking, he certainly spent some time on the floor again, didn't he?
Oh, Joe, I was gonna wait and ask you what you thought of his overall performance. Listen, I thought he showed lots of energy. Showed lots of energy, loads of desire today.
I was going to say, just on him, not so much today. You know, I mean, I've given him some stick loads of times. I can't stand him as a person, but I think it's a really good signing for us. Gives us so many options. Can play as a 9, can play wide. I think his character and that certainly rubs the opposition up, but it looks like it galvanises your own players and things like that. He's certainly It was great, the content, wasn't it, when he met Romero in the
Brilliant.
dressing room.
That was brilliant. That was superb.
And so I think he, I'll still, he'll drive me mad rolling around on the floor, but I still think it's an absolutely, I think it's a really good signing for us. A really good, far better than lots of people outside the club think it is. I think it's, when everyone's saying, oh, he won't get in Tottenham's side. We've got so many games this year, so many games in such a short space of time. There'll be plenty of weeks when it's Son, Richarlison, Kulusevski, and the following game will be Kane, Richarlison, Kulusevski, and then it'll be Son, Kane, Kulusevski, Son, Kane, Richarlison. There's loads of options to do that.
Yeah.
And we've always talked about having depth and game changes and things. So I think it's and 50 million, you can look at 50 million and think it's a lot of money, but when you look at some of the price, I mean, Nathan Collins today, Burnley to Wolves for like 28 million.
Yep.
I mean, so 50 million actually isn't what could you get better at 40 million, if you like, than you could have got for Richarlison at 50? It's he's Premier League proven,
and some of that will cover not only as a full primarily forward, he can cover those front three. Yeah, agree.
And Jace, just a point as well on that is that this season, like no other, with the 5 subs you can make per game, you are changing half the team every single game. So there is the whole idea of this first 11 is just going to evaporate this season, and you'll basically see a first 15, 16 that are coming on every single game or switching around, vice versa. And we've now got a squad that's going to benefit from that massively because we've got game changers in the squad. If something ain't going right, if Son's having an off day, if Kane's having an off day, you whack on a Kulusevski, you whack on a Gill if it's going to be him or Richarlison. We've got so many options now, and this is what we've wanted. We've screamed for years about a strong squad, and people are not 50 million's a lot. We went 2 windows without spending a penny. This is a club that are in the top 10 richest clubs in world football. We're spending the money that we generate. It's as simple as that.
No, I agree. I think he had a couple of flashes. I thought today. I think he had a really good chance with a header. I thought that was going to go in. I think somebody posted on social media the week that we signed him, which was probably only a week ago, to be fair. But it feels like that we haven't had a signing for ages. But they said how many headed goals he gets. So when that opportunity came, I thought, "Oh, go on, son," and he couldn't bury it. I think the other thing that I quite noticed about him is obviously his work ethic and worked hard. He played a lot of minutes today. I thought that was quite interesting. Him and Lucas, and I think Dier played the most minutes. Off the top of my head, I might be completely wrong on that, but they played a lot of minutes compared to everyone else. And also, he doesn't. Yes, he rolls around, he goes down and whatever, but he also likes a bit of a flick and a trick. And actually, done in the right areas of the pitch, that could be very, very useful. You can see that he wants to do stuff that's a little bit more creative, which I thought was quite interesting because I heard Tim Vickery a couple of weeks ago talking about he's kind of like head down, blinkers on, run at goal. But I saw some difference in him today. Maybe he was just experimenting because it is a friendly, right? So I think he's going to be a very, very good player for us. And like Jace, I wasn't that enamoured when we first got linked with him, but seeing that as what everyone said to me on the group and what you've been saying here as well, he plays across the front three and you can almost, rotate him between 3 or 4 players at a time. He's probably going to end up getting 28, 30 games, isn't he? Like, even if we've got 60 games, hopefully, if we've got 60 games this season, he's probably going to do 30 of them from that rotation perspective. I like the fact that he was up number 9 today. I'm right up the middle. I like that. It was almost like, go on then. I'm here to have a go with number 9 as well. I like that. I thought it was good.
I think the thing, again, like we tell you about Richarlison today, he's unlucky not to get an assist if Emerson taps that ball in. And again, if you look at some of the phases of play, it's just that final moment that was missing today. So I don't think you could ask him to work any harder than what he did, honestly. Touching upon some of the performances, John, just keen to get your thoughts on some of the youngsters that played today. Well, he's not really a youngster as such, but Japhet Tanganga, it was an okay performance. Does it surprise you, John, one that you've always been very quick to shoot down any potential of a move? The rumours just won't go away on Japhet Tanganga. What's your thinking with regards to Tanganga? Are you still confident it'll be here come the end of August, beginning of September?
Yeah, I certainly feel like unless we get a very high permanent transfer offer, he'll be at the club. I certainly think it'll be Rodon that will move out before him. As I said many times, he counts as homegrown and club trained. You need 4 club trained players in the Champions League squad. He's vital for that. He's also not, as I said, he played a lot under Conte before he got injured as well. And he can play a couple of positions. So I certainly think Tanganga will stay. Just on the other younger players, Rick, today, especially those that came off the bench, I thought Harvey White looked good as he always does, actually. Whenever he comes on in these pre-season games, he's doing this 3-4 years ago, but he seems to always come on in like weird left-back roles or left wing-back and this kind of stuff. Harvey White is probably the best set-piece taker at the club as well. We're talking about needing set-piece takers. He's phenomenal at free kicks and corners as well. He had a wasted year last year, Harvey White. Just a quick bit of background on him. The year before, he did the second half of the season on loan at Portsmouth and featured heavily, scoring a header, win at Oxford and things like that. So it was wasted for him last year, not being more involved. I do still hope he goes out on loan this coming season. There was reportedly Sunderland and Hull looking to take him last January window, but Tottenham just couldn't believe their luck that they were able to offload Dele, Ndombele and Lo Celso in one day. And as such, that meant keep Harvey White for numbers, basically. And then he obviously featured on the bench a lot towards the back end of last season. I think he will go out on loan. Some of the other boys that came on, Charlie Sayers, phenomenal progress, actually. We only signed him last November from Southend. He came in, instantly captained the under-18s, played about 2 games for them, then went straight into the under-23s, and now he's already training with the first team quite regularly. It seems like a real find by the recruitment team. He also, if you ever think of somebody that absolutely looks like a footballer, it's Charlie Sayers. He looks the part completely. And he's a diehard Tottenham fan from Southend as well, so it's always good to get one of our own in. So hopefully he continues to progress. He seems to be on a real upward trajectory. I hope to see a lot of him in the Youth Champions League this year. And Troy Parrott finally. Now, Troy, I still do want him to go out on loan this year. I think a Championship club is right for him. I saw Sunderland League. I think I've been an outstanding move. Sunderland's only got one big Scottish guy up front, and that's it. And the beauty of Troy is he can actually play as a number 10, so he can play behind this big forward they've got. And he'd be in a team with a lot of boys he knows, like Dennis Serkin, and obviously Jack Clark, who's joined them on a permanent already, so he could settle in very, very quickly at Sunderland. I think Sunderland's a massive club, big support. Troy would really thrive on that. I think that would be an outstanding loan move for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if when this tour is over, something happens there with Sunderland. And Malachi Walcott, obviously, has already made his Tottenham first team debut in the Champions League under Jose Mourinho. He came on against Leipzig, if you guys remember that. And he's a player that when I spoke with Ledley, spoke very, very high of. So again, he's another one desperate for a loan, been unlucky with injury. So all those boys today, I hope they continue on the progress they're making.
Okay, John, a question here from Fiona, who says, this is actually to you. Too soon to include Harvey White in a Premier League squad next season? What do you reckon?
Not too soon for a squad, because obviously he was on the bench a lot towards the back end of last season. A hell of a lot, probably 10, 15 times, or maybe 20 times. I think Alistair made that point. But, you know, I certainly do want him to do a full season in the Championship, like Skippy's loan, that really set him up, you know, do a 40, 45 game season in the Championship. And I think he would do fine at that level. Again, he can cover multiple positions. I think he'd be very, very useful.
Just to touch upon some of the other players today, Pape Matar, Jace, let's come to you. It was his first action in a Spurs shirt. I mean, listen, again, I use that word energy, probably the same as him, brought some energy to the team.
Yes.
I'm going to be honest, it's very hard to judge this early into a game. What are we giving 45 minutes to a player? I mean, very hard to judge.
No, lad, lots of energy, covered lots of ground, but don't duck free kicks again, please.
Yep. There you go. Rule number 1 there from Jason. Listen, we'll touch upon, who else can we touch upon here? Sessegnon, of course, looks like he's worked ever so hard during the summer. Lee's touch upon that as well. Some good movement down the left-hand side. Lee looked trying to make things happen. Got a view on Sess ahead of the upcoming season, Lee, based on today? What do you reckon? Is it too early? I'm conscious
John knows what I'm thinking. I won't say it. John knows what I'm thinking. No, look, I think he does. I think the thing is, he started the game trying. I think last season, when he came into the side, you could tell that he was playing things safe, right? He was trying to do things that were quite safe. And towards the end of the season, he got a little bit more confidence in maybe his hamstrings or maybe in his ability himself start going to, past people or trying to go past people. Today, he started off trying to go past people, and he didn't go past too many people, right? Let's be honest about it. He didn't really beat his man. When the ball was passed to him in space, he's got a fantastic cross on him. He's got a brilliant left foot on him. So he put in a couple of crosses. One that springs to mind, I thought, well, that is literally an absolute peach. Someone's got to finish it off, and they didn't in the end. So I think that there's still work for him to do. I personally just think it's a confidence thing with Sessegnon. I think that he needs to drop his shoulder and just put the afterburners on and go past people. And once he gets that bit right, I think he could be a hell of a left wing back for us.
Yeah, he needs a man of the match, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he needs a man of the match and a goal or a big assist. I mean, all right, he got one at Liverpool, a big assist, but I think he needs a goal. a goal in a meaningful game, an important goal. You know, like I always used to talk about Eric Lamela. Needed that impact goal, if you like, that goal wherein when people think, you always think, cool, remember that goal that Sessegnon scored there? And I don't mean the one at Bayern Munich when you lose 4-1 on his first game and things like that. I think he just needs that just to give himself that boost.
That's what Gary in the comments there. Gary Noble says Lee hasn't got the speed or the explosiveness. He's not talking about me. Ain't got it. I definitely haven't. He's talking about Sess. But I mean, I think that's my point. That confidence thing, Gary and listeners and viewers. I think that because he's had his injury issues around his hammies. That's where you get your explosiveness from, isn't it? You know, I always go back to there'll be some viewers and listeners that won't remember, obviously, Michael Owen when he burst onto the scene, but it wasn't that long ago. But I mean, this fella had serious pace,
frightening pace.
And when his hamstring went, he dropped because that's where you get it from. So that's why you see some of the videos. He's working really hard in the gym, and I'm sure the coaching staff and the fitness staff will get him as strong as he can be. But I've done my ACL. I know he hasn't done his ACL well. I've done my ACL twice, and I'm nowhere near. Believe me, I know I look like a fine specimen, but I'm nowhere near a sports person really. And the confidence you lose from having an injury, but the confidence you lose from having an injury, is terrible. Do you know what I mean? So imagine what it's like for a pro footballer. That is what you do. Mentally, I'm talking about, not just physically. Mentally, he's got to get over that, get that confidence back in that muscles in his legs.
There's a phrase I will never ever hear. Lee McQueen's lost confidence.
Mate, honestly, it's all a front, mate. It's all a front.
Right. Very quickly, boys, midfield-wise, Skippy obviously back in action for the first time in a match, I think, since January. Again, looking like, purposeful on the pitch. Bentancur, I think we love the fact Bentancur already on. Some really nice tackles from Bentancur, winning back possession. That's what we want to see. Going to be really interesting, I think, boys, when we see Basuma obviously available and seeing how Conte does rotate that midfield, what his options are going to be for the first game of the season. Lucas Moura. What can we say about Lucas? A couple of the old dribbles of Lucas Moura, the old trademark dribbles.
He looks lively, doesn't he? In patches, Lucas looks lively. Yeah. In the first half, he looked lively. Brilliant. This is the sort of thing that makes you go, and it definitely was making the crowd do that today. Mind you, they were doing that on everything. But
yeah, pretty much.
Lucas did some amazing touches and quick turns, and he went for he nutmegged somebody and ran around 2 or 3 people like they were like just dummies or cones or whatever in there. And then it's like most of the time with Lucas, it's an end product or he doesn't find the right pass. Again, you've got the Lamellas about him in that scenario where Lamella used to do some really good stuff and you think, go on. And then, but for all of his endeavour and all of his, that what he can do because he has got it in his locker and he has done it on big stages, on big games. And that's maybe what Lucas brings. I don't know what, Jace, what do you think on Lucas?
Yeah, I think it's always with it. I call him an on his day footballer. When it's his day and the stars align, he's excellent. But if his day's on a Thursday and you're playing on a Sunday or something, you're in big trouble with him. But I think it was him that set up Kane for the 3rd goal, wasn't it? Where he brought the ball out of defence and burst past the people. What I like about him is that he always seems positive in trying to do something. You rarely see him get the ball and just play the safe 5-yard pass inside because he doesn't want it. He always seems to want the ball. When he gets it, he looks up, tries to do something. But, when you look at the quality that we've got in the squad and that, you start to see him probably playing less and less game time. But he'll play his part at some stage next season, I'm sure.
Who else have we not touched upon? Højbjerg today, working hard. I tell you what, one player we haven't mentioned yet, and I want to bring him in very quickly before we move on, is Brian Hill. Now, again, whenever I've watched him, I don't know if you boys feel the same, I still think there's a player in there. There's something about him that intrigues me. Now, whether Conte is intrigued as much as I am, I don't know. But today, I just feel with him, he just misses that decisive moment that is ultimately what every footballer needs to get to that top level. I mean, John, Do you have an opinion on Bryan Hill where we stand right now? I mean, is he one you think Conte will keep around the squad, or because I don't see the benefit, John, and just sending him out on another loan in Spain? Do you? I mean, he needs to get a Premier League loan.
Alone anywhere other than the Premier League is an utter waste of time. He's got to go to a Premier League club to develop in this league. It's irrelevant what he can do in Spain and wherever else. I need to know what he can do in this country. So definitely alone within the Premier League. On Bryan Hill, though, when we signed him, I was told he was this kind of winger that hugged the touchline and whipped all these balls in and stuff. I don't see that at all.
No, not at all.
I see someone that picks it up and it does want to run at people, but takes it inside. He's very different to what he was described as, actually. And I think there is a good player in there as well. He's still very, very young. He's got a very high reputation in Spain. I know Crackers, for example, loves him and hears very good things from local people in Spain about him. And I certainly think he's worth keeping around, and definitely don't sell him permanently. But I would love him to go on loan to a Brighton or somewhere like that, where they play decent football on the ball and he can be involved a lot and he can get settled into the Premier League football. But I just think I'd rather, with 20 minutes to go this season, whack on a Lucas, for example, than whack on a Bryan Hill if we needed something to happen. So that's where I'm at with that. I think certainly alone within the Premier League would be ideal.
Yeah, very quickly, Lee, do you have an opinion on Bryan Hill? You were chucking away there to yourself.
Yeah, I know. Do you know why? Because I was thinking about when I bring this up, Jace is going to probably switch off. But I think he looks slight. I mean, there's a guy said in the comments, sorry, buddy, I forgot your name because it went up. But, Lee Smith just said it, too lightweight. I think he still looks quite, there you go, Jace taking his lights off. He needs a bit of a Dharma Traore in him, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? He needs it. That's what I'm saying. He needs a bit
he's definitely going.
He needs to beef himself up a bit.
Cheers, boys. The cricket's on.
That's it. I don't know. I don't see it, honestly. I mean, I bow down to yourself, Rick, and John, and Crackers waxed lyrical about him, and for all good reasons. I don't see it. I think we purchased him for a European club to come and buy him off us at a huge profit. That is the reason why I think we did that deal. I don't think, this is just my probably rubbish opinion, but I just don't think he will play in the Premier League. I just can't see it. I can't see it. I think he'd go out on loan again, potentially, and it won't be like, and I agree with John, it needs to be in another Premier League club or whatever, and I don't think it will be. I think he'd go and relish, back in Spain, and then we might go and sell him on a big money. But look, we paid 25 million for him plus Lamella. So given the fact that Lamella was maybe 15 million, we paid 40 million for Bryan Hill. 40 million. You're talking about Richarlison and whatever at 50 million. We paid 40 million for Bryan Hill. So for us to go and even sell him on as a bigger profit, he's going to have to seriously do some stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'm not convinced. Guys, to be honest,
I think again, one to wait and see. Right, we're just going to do a couple of listener questions, then we're going to just quickly discuss the departure of Bergwijn, the signing of Longley. Right, let's go to John. John, this question is from G_Division, who says, "Who do you think has staked a claim for more opportunities on this tour?" For me, I'd take another look at Sarr for sure. What's your thoughts, John?
Yeah, I would like to see Papa Sarr involved more. I think he did do some good things today, a lot of running on the ball, making things happen. And he's the player he's the unknown quantity. He's one we don't know about. I don't know anything about him. I didn't watch much league football last year. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him.
Okay, next question is coming around to you, Jace. This is from MJB Hotspur, who says, "Is it important to have more than 4 wing-backs due to injuries, the demands of a long season, and the new 5-sub rule?" What's your thoughts on that, Jace?
In an ideal world, yes, but you can only register a certain number of players. So we always talk about if you can register a 25-man squad, then it's pretty much 2 players for every position, isn't it? And you have 3 goalkeepers. So, if you want 3 or 4 right wing backs, then you're going to have no left wingers or no holding midfield players to get them all in the squad. So, Perisic, if necessary, can play as a right wing back when Sessegnon plays as a left wing back. There are options within the squad to be able to do that. So, and if the worst comes to the worst, I'm sure they'll find a way around it. But I think basically you'd write down 2 players for every position and you've got 3 goalkeepers in there, and then you're more or less at your 25 anyway, aren't you?
Yeah. Okay, true. And Lee, final one to use is from Rune Skanai, going back on to Pape Matar. Rune asks, will Sarr be part of Spurs' squad next season? Big bold statement there. What do you reckon, Lee? Or big bold question?
No.
So you reckon it'll be a loan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound rude, but I just, he's 19. He's played 45 minutes that we've seen him play today. Like, personally, I've only seen him play for 45 minutes because that's the only time I've ever seen him. So it's not a reflection on today. I just think that when you've got in front of you Oliver Skipp, who has just taken the number 4 jersey and clearly a first-team player, Højbjerg and Bentancur, not even a conversation. They're definitely in that position. And then we've just signed arguably the best defensive midfielder in the league last season, in my humble opinion, in Basuma. I can't see where every time we talk about Sarr, I want to go Papa Mata Sarr. I love the way it sounds, like Papa Mata Sarr. I love it. I can't just say Papa Sarr, like it's like, that's just saying my middle name, which I won't embarrass myself and telling you all what it is, but you just wouldn't walk around, would you, like saying my 3 names? But yeah, anyway, Sarr, I think he goes straight back out on loan, personally.
Okay, fine.
You want to know my middle name now, don't you?
Well, now you've thrown us into it. We're going to get it or not?
Yeah, like, so it'd be like you walking around talking to me, Lee McQueen. Like, it's just hi, it's Lee Malcolm. Like, you just wouldn't do it, would you?
It kind of flows though, it really does. Right, what we
name.
will do is we will go for our final break of the show for our listeners on audio, for our watching audience on YouTube. It's still over 500, 600 of you plus. So thank you so much for all of your incredible support. You're right there, Jason, thoroughly not impressed at all. Before we
I'm trying to book tickets for the Bromley game next Tuesday. That's why.
That's the multitasking for you. Conte after the game. Listen, you've got the audio there, but for our listeners on audio, but Conte very praiseful of Richarlison, said he's seen a lot of positive things from him, good character, good quality for sure. He's working on the physical and tactical aspect of how he wants us to play. Conte again praising the fact 64,000 people coming to watch Spurs and of course the K-League players as well. The atmosphere was incredible. Good game. He's seen many positive things. I think Conte stressed the point that in terms of intensity, he didn't ask for a high intensity because it's more of a case of just seeing at this stage how they can manage the players. But he's pleased with the effort. He was pleased for Sonny to have that love and affection that we saw. And again, as John referenced to earlier in the show, we have got obviously that issue now surrounding Basuma, Fraser Forster. We wish them well. And of course, their battle with coronavirus. We hope they're going to recover very, very soon. And at Perisic, Conte wanted to make a point that he thinks by tomorrow he could be part of the training session. So there might be an opportunity that we are going to see his recovery fast. And listen, we'll see him hopefully very soon.
That was a shame, wasn't it? That was the shame of today.
Well, to not have Perisic, to not have Basuma there, key players.
No Perisic, no Longley. Like we said, we signed all this stuff. 5 players. This is amazing. Yeah. We're brilliant. And we only saw one of them today. Like Forster's got bloody COVID, but bless him. And Kulusevski obviously wasn't playing anyway. And he's obviously we've seen him quite a lot, since January. But the other 4 signings, the other new boy, weren't even around, were they? Do you know what I mean? So
massive
it's like one of them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is massive disappointing.
Spence, right. Where's Spence? Hang on. Where is he? Where is Jed Spence? Like, I can't find him. I can't see him anywhere. It's gone. I don't know where he is.
He's not here. Whoever's not here just yet. Right, let's touch upon, boys, just the nature of the shows. We obviously did a show with the Foundation last week, so we didn't have a chance to react to Bergwijn leaving, Longley signing. Bergwijn departing. Firstly, John, let's get some thoughts on this. Be a quick 5 on this. Completing that move to Ajax for a fee believed to be in the region of 27.8 million. He does become Spurs' second player out of the door this summer following Cameron Carter-Vickers. John, disappointed or accepting of the fact Bergwijn wanted to move on and get regular game time?
I think for himself, he needed to go and be a first-team player and be a key man somewhere. So I think he was pushing for the move. I don't think he'd done enough for Tottenham to turn around and beg for him to stay either. And I think we got very, very good money for him. I think it was a good deal for all parties. I think it was a fair fee. I'm glad that Tottenham stood firm to Ajax, pretending they've got no money all the time, which I'm sick to death of, by the way, while they're valuing their players at 80 million and all this kind of nonsense. They've secured, for me, a player that will go to Holland and be the best player in the league. I don't think he'll stay there long. I think he'll be like Sebastian Haller, where he's too good for that league. He'll do 18 months there and he'll be picked up by another top 5 league club. I certainly see him coming back, to a Germany or Spain or wherever it may be. And good luck to him. He had some fantastic moments at Tottenham, and we wish him well. But I just feel like it's very good money for him, and I'm happier with Richarlison in the squad than Bergwijn.
Lee, come over to you. Listen, he did struggle for regular game time under Antonio Conte, and he even felt, as we saw last season, found himself below Lucas in the pecking order, whether rightly or wrongly. I know that could be a completely different debate. But essentially, 80 appearances for Spurs, just the 8 goals, 10 assists. Lee, right decision to let him go? What do you reckon overall?
We love him. We love him. Look, I mean, look, just in the Premier League, 60 appearances, 7 goals, 5 assists, just in the Premier League itself. The return wasn't great. That's what 1 goal in 10 appearances per se. A lot of people say, "Oh, you know, I'm gutted about him leaving." Whatever. Even Conte himself said, "You know, I see him as a replacement for Kane." No, you didn't. Like you had a lot of times to play him in front of Lucas, but you didn't. You know, so you look at that, and I think previous managers didn't play him before. I mean, I think he scored big goals. I mean, Jay said it earlier about Eric Lamela, like not scoring big goals until the Rabone against Arsenal, and then he got sent off. But Bergwijn was different to that. I think he made his debut, didn't he, against Man City, scored an absolute brilliant goal.
Yeah, scored against Man United as well.
And we won, and scored against United, scored some decent goals. I don't think he recovered from all that flack unfairly, by the way, all that flack that he got when he missed away at the post, and then he missed the sitter as well against Liverpool during that period of time. I just think I agree with John. It's the best move for him, best move for the club, good money. Some people say, "I'll get the deal done really quickly" and whatever. But we held out. We ended up getting some really good money for him. So fair play to him. I wish him all the best. But it was probably the right thing to do to move on. What I would say, though, I do think in that position, if you talk about it kind of the left side, the Son understudy or whatever, I do think we need another person there. So that's why, coming back onto signings, I still think we need to bring 2, maybe 3 in the door. That's your centre-back, your left centre-back, your right wing-back, and another. Right? Whether or not it's your cam, your attacking midfielder person that you talk about, Rick. But somebody needs to still come in now. I think we're still a bit short.
We'll see how that pans out on that moment. Jace, it's funny because he went on to reveal in an interview recently, Bergwijn, that, again, maybe it's tongue-in-cheek, he's called it a step up. I presume he feels that move to Ajax is a step up because you'll get regular first-team football rather than dig at Tottenham saying it's a step up in terms of quality. I mean, yes, obviously he's going to Ajax out of power in the Champions League. Likewise, Tottenham are as well. Anything to take from that interview and overall, Jace, your thoughts on the move?
No, I never worry what they say when they go. He's got to play to the gallery of his new club and things like that, hasn't it? So, are Ajax a more prestigious club than Tottenham? Well, they've won a lot more than Tottenham. So, you can throw that 2 ways. I'm really not fussed about what he says. I don't take it as a bad thing or anything. I think, that night at Leicester, his place is etched in Tottenham folklore, isn't it?
Secured us top 4.
I actually think his best game for us was against West Ham in the Carabao Cup last year. When he played really well in that game just before Christmas, wasn't it? I think where he scored one and make one that night and was the best player on the pitch that night. So no, good luck to him. He's got a really good goal scoring record for Holland. It's a World Cup that's being played in November and December. He wants, like Gareth Bale and people like that, they want to go and play football in the run up to that. So no, good luck to him. And as I say, like John said, I think he'll have another big move or 2 in him, further down the line, 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, and John, coming back around to you, closing the show on Longley. He does become Spurs' 5th signing of the summer. Now, under normal circumstances, we probably would have done the show straight afterwards. But again, due to the nature of how many signings Spurs have made so far, I think even we're trying to catch up, which isn't often the last word on Spurs. John, overall thoughts? He obviously wasn't Spurs' maybe first choice in terms of that left centre-back position they were looking to fill. But he does come in on a season-long loan. But we understand there isn't a purchase option depending on who you read, where you get it from. Thoughts on the overall move, John?
I like the move as a whole, but I am very disappointed if there isn't a purchase option, because at that point we're then at Barca's mercy, basically. If he does well for us, they say, oh, he's 40 million or whatever. We had to get a purchase option, and I'm unsure why we don't have people at the club that are unable to do that. I'm not going to go on a massive rant about the club, don't worry, but I don't know why we weren't able to get that done. I find that frustrating. I hope that there is a purchase option in there, because then that gives us complete control of what we decide to do with him at a fixed fee. But obviously, look, I hope he does turn out to be brilliant, and I hope he's an unbelievable player, because on paper, his time at Seville, I believe it was very, very good by all accounts. He was this ball-playing, left-sided centre-back that can hit a pass, and that gives us real options. So I'm interested to see. It could be that we're all kind of underwhelmed by him to begin with. And actually, 4 or 5 games into the season, we're saying this geezer's mustard. We've got him doing that on one side. You've got Romero on the other, carrying the ball forward. And then you've got Dier being solid in the middle. Suddenly, we look very, very good. And then you've got fantastic backups in the likes of Davies, Sanchez, and maybe it's going to be Tanganga or somebody else. But I think it's a no-brainer on a loan. I just hope that there is an option in there.
I think, John, maybe, I don't know, but maybe it's the same as the Frankie de Jong element, that maybe Barca owe him back wages from taking a cut. And you're seeing how Barcelona are telling Man United, you've got to pay his back wages and things like that. So they just couldn't agree a fee that would relate to that because of the wage element. And so it's gone through that. That may be, we know Barcelona is a basket case financially at the moment. How Barcelona can be telling Frankie de Jong he's not getting his 17 million back wages, but signing Rafinha for 58 million and Lewandowski for 40 million. I mean, try and get your head around these things. It's madness what's going on there.
Pure insanity, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy.
Absolutely insane. It's a good point. A really good point.
Yeah, Lee, I mean, your thoughts on him? Listen, it sounds like a player Conte really pushed for and really wanted. Obviously, Conte has the belief that he's going to bring his confidence back because, again, a player that, as John mentioned at Seville, really highly thought of. I mean, again, we've seen players go to Barcelona and lose their ways. Coutinho being one of them. Again, it doesn't always work out when you're at that club like Barcelona and they change their managers so often to find a rhythm. And again, he has made mistakes, but Conte seems to really want him. He's here. Again, the only disappointment, I think, like you said earlier, Lee, disappointment is not on this tour. It's a real shame that because he would have had an opportunity to work with the squad early, get to the boys. There'll be maybe a little bit of delay now of doing that. But overall, happy with the signing, even though there isn't a purchase option there potentially?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, my optimistic side, which is always very high, as you know, is saying to me, well, they haven't put an option to buy because we've already sorted out our absolute outstanding centre back for next year already, like maybe a Guardiola or a Bastoni or something like that. So I'm thinking to myself, well, we won't need him because we've already got one lined up. But no, I agree. I agree with John. I think he's a little bit underwhelming. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to write something in the group and then not say it on here. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And when he was signing, when we were linked with him, I was like, I don't fancy him at our club, because he turned us down last year. And I want people to come to play for the football club that want to play for the football club. And I know that he's at Barcelona, and I know that Barcelona, and if you played at Barcelona, it's a step backwards to go to Tottenham. Don't even worry about that, regardless of what basket case there is. So I kind of know that, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking you need to want to play for us. But he's here, and he obviously wouldn't have signed if he didn't want to play for us. And Conte's had a word with him. Conte obviously wanted him, and that's really important as well. So let's see. He can definitely play ball. There's no doubt about that. He can pass the ball around really well. So let's see what he can do in a Spurs shirt. But we all know that the Spanish league is very different to the Premier League. So
absolutely,
let's see what he can do, mate.
Yeah, agree. Well, listen, Spurs back in action again this coming Saturday against Seville. Again, we'll keep an eye on how the squad performs, and like I say, big game. Isn't another big game, another big test against the players?
I think the big games. It's easy to say it's a tour game and it's a pre-season game, but we've actually only got 3 friendlies to go before we kick off.
It's what I mean. It's not like we've got a huge amount of games to really trial and test players out.
Exactly. Usually you've got 6 or 7 games, and you've got time to do things. There's only Rangers, Roma, and Seville left.
That's why it's even more disappointing that we haven't had Basuma forced available, Perisic to play, because there's not a huge amount of games before that first game of the season.
Who are we playing? We've got Seville, we've got Rangers,
and Roma.
And then we've got Roma. That's it.
And these are all good teams. They're all good teams.
On that, I'm sure Tottenham very often invite the likes of Colchester, Southend, whoever, to come down and put an 11 at the training ground. If Basuma and that need games, that's exactly what they'll do. We always do that throughout pre-season anyway. So there'll be games that we don't even hear about. Will be taking place.
Okay,
I think for that Seville game, for the first hour, you'll see. He obviously won't be able to pick what our first team was probably for Leicester, but I think he'll try and pick his strongest 11 and give them at least an hour. So I think you will see whether Perisic is fit, but it will be a side that resembles something like he'll want to go into with Leicester, albeit with, Kane will start, Son will start, probably whether Kulusevski or Moura will. I think he'll have Skip and Højbjerg or Bentancur or something in midfield. I think we'll see Davis, Dier, probably Romero at the back because that's what's available at the moment. I think he'll try and go as strong as he possibly can within the squad allowances for that first hour.
Yeah, I think we all agree. Probably today's game, the Team K-League game, was always going to be about fitness rather than looking at real, what that 11 is going to look like. So again, exciting by the fact we're going to hopefully see what a new look Spurs is going to look like under Conte in these next few games. We'll be covering them all here on Last Word on Spurs. So keep tuned. As always, stay close to everything on Tottenham. We've had the brilliant panel this evening giving us their thoughts. The stalwarts of Last Word on Spurs. John, lovely to be back on, mate. I know there's been some people asking, when are we going to hear the next youth pod? Have we got an exclusive? When is it coming out?
Yeah, it'll be out within the next week. I'm just waiting on a few little touches to do to it for the new season ahead. Lots to talk about, including the game I was at last night, and also be on Saturday's game at Leyton Orient as well. So, the Lilywhite Rose podcast, check it out and see if you're interested in youth updates, especially with Spurs play this season. I'm sure there'll be something there for you.
Amazing. John, thank you so much as always, mate. Lovely to have you back on Last Word on Spurs. Jace, you're back with me on Sunday for reviewing Seville. What do you want to see ahead of that, Jace? What would you like to see in terms of players-wise that we haven't seen today? I mean, a lot of them are featured. Would you like to see a change in formation? What would you like to see ahead
I'm looking forward to seeing Rory McIlroy tee off. I'm looking forward to seeing Tiger. I always look forward to seeing Tiger before that. Hopefully Rory can bring that claret jug home, mate. And that's what I'm looking forward to next. That's before the Seville game.
And we'll try and cram that in for the Seville review. Look at Lee, so nice. He's done. You don't want to hear this crap. Lee, let's go with you, mate. We're losing Lee for Sunday's show. Lee, thank you so much as always, mate. What do you want to see,
mate,
Lee? You're back with us, of course, in the next few weeks, of course.
Of course, I'm always about, mate, but I am driving to Spain on Sunday, which is why you won't have me on your show, on this wonderful show, on our show, I should say. Can I just ask a quick question, right? Is Jules Koundé a left-footed centre-back? Does anyone know? Is he left-footed? Because there's
I've just seen
stories
Spurs
coming out on social media now that we've been linked with him. I'm just trying to I reckon it's 2 + 2 = 5, basically, because isn't Reguilon talking to Seville about going there? We're playing Seville.
He's right-footed. He's right-footed.
He's right-footed. Chelsea now don't want to sign Koundé. Yeah. So again, he's right-footed. So is it? Do you think this is serious that we're thinking about signing this guy?
You know what? Again, this guy was heavily linked with Chelsea. I mean, it would be some kind of coup to get him. But Spurs in the window. I think they've surprised us all so far by making 5. Who knows? We definitely do need another centre back. A centre back of that class he's really highly rated, isn't he? Really well thought of. Surely
he'd be the one that sits. He'd be your Dier replacement almost, wouldn't he? Then all of a sudden,
I don't think, but I don't think Jules Koundé's coming to sit on the bench. I think Jules Koundé's coming to start. But I know what you mean. I know what you're coming
from. There'd be a Dier replacement, wouldn't he? Replace Dier, wouldn't he?
And let's be honest. Let's be honest. I mean, there should be some movement with Reguilon if Sevilla are genuinely interested. They got rid of a left back to Villa, so that there's a spot there. And if Tottenham and Sevilla have been in Seoul together for a week, there's been plenty of time for Paratici to nip over to their hotel for a cup of coffee and sort things out. And have they still got Monchi? I forget who their famed sporting director is. Is it Monchi or something? So there's plenty of opportunity for Daniel to pop over and have chats, and they're playing each other. So if there is any dealings with Tottenham and Sevilla, it should be quite easy to sort out.
Strategy to put down.
I wonder if they got a right wing back.
Yeah, they might have. Who plays right wing back? They could put down the old Candy Crush, couldn't he? Paratici, Jace, put down Candy Crush, go do some business.
Level 8,750.
That's what he's on, mate. Anyway, guys, it's quite interesting to see how that develops, because he did turn us down once before, but somebody said that about the Champions League with Longley, and now we've obviously got Champions League, so maybe he's interested.
Yeah. You imagine, like I say, I think Reguilon's probably played his last game in a Spurs shirt. If he has, we wish him all the very best. And I say we'll be keeping posted on that. But listen, from John, who looks like he's studying now Jules Conde's stats. Look at the intensity in John's eyes. He's studying the stats.
That's a post. A post coming out.
Yeah.
You watch Lilywhite Rose, baby.
So from the brilliant John Wenham, from the wonderful Jason McGovern, from the superb Lee McQueen, guys, thank you so much for all your support as always for Last Word On Spurs. We're back with you on Sunday evening. Have a great end to the week as always. Please keep safe, keep well, and as always, come on you Spurs.